bans for that, Slappy?
I sure can. The picks and bans for Anorexicwhale versus Quicklime. Let me go ahead and throw up the little cool screen we have for that. It is a little... And now I can get rid of this cast begins thing. There we go. Okay, so first ban is Quicklime bans Courtyard 2, any 4 of 7. And I'm just going to read both bans. Quicklime bans Courtyard 2, any 4 of 7, and High Rise, any 3 of 5.
Those are interesting bans, especially the first one. But I guess maybe it makes more sense in Challenger that, a lot of people who have more experience with the game cling to Courtyard as sort of a comfort level, but maybe that's not so much the case for people newer to the game, and they're not as fond of it as we tend to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think some people maybe are not that fond of the old art, players that joined more recently. And High Rise, I don't know, maybe he doesn't like just the mission setup with any 3 or 5. Probably he prefers some 4 of 8.
Yeah. I mean, any 3 of 5 is a lot different than some of the standard, any 4 or any 5 of whatever maps that we get for a lot of the more quote unquote standard maps in the set of maps we play. So I can see how not wanting to have to deal with that would be a thing. I can also see the other player here banning out both gallery maps. And that just makes sense to me. I feel like Gallery is an underplayed map and also an old art map, so it sort of makes perfect sense to me that someone would be just like, I don't want to deal with that at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Was all right. Was Quicklime the one who banned High Rise 3 of 5? Yeah, well, also interesting to me that he picked the other 3 of 5 map.
And sorry for the stream.
Yeah, it's interesting, but well, there's some difference between pub and high rise, I guess. Maybe, yeah, easier to get a mission win on pub with 3 or 5. I'm not exactly sure, and I'm not seeing it on the graphic right now, but Courtyard 4 of 6 has been picked.
Apparently Courtyard 2 4 of 6, right? Which is a mode I didn't even really know was in the map pool. But interesting to see. I guess it makes sense if your opponent bans 4 of 7. Just force them to play Courtyard 2.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be interesting to see, and it's not really that different from 4 of 7, because before the last mission got added, we were all playing Courtyard 2 4 of 6, I think, if I recall correctly. So it's pretty similar to 4 of 7. And Ballroom 4 of 7 also. Ballroom is a very liked map by a lot of players, especially maybe people who started on beginner Ballroom with the game. So I guess they have some experience on that map, both of them.
Yeah, I feel like just about everybody has at least some experience with Ballroom, especially if you're a newer player wanting to go for those new art maps.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we should be ready to start casting the first game, which, correct me if I'm wrong, should be on pub any 3 or 5.
Yeah, that's what I have too.
All right.
So we'll be starting the game shortly. I don't really have much to say going in because I don't know either of these two players. But I'll be curious to see how they play.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see who might have the skills to get promoted in the higher leagues.
Yeah, it's always interesting, in a league like Challenger, there can be like huge skill differences, which maybe isn't as interesting for individual matches, but for like seeing how the league shapes out as a whole, it'll be interesting to see sort of who rises to the top.
Yes, we are ready. All right, we are starting out with Anorexicwhale as the spy, playing Alice. Stepping into a lonely CC, gets joined by the suspected double agent. Also the Ember getting close.
Although we don't have bug on, we've got bug and swap turned off, which seems to be sort of the standard loadout for this map recently, which is funny. I was sort of away from SpyParty for a while, and last time we were always banning swap and Purloin. But I think it's interesting to keep Purloin in on this sort of map when a lot of your attention is going to be focused on trying to figure out those seduction pairs anyway. And so Purloin is more of a, memorizing things, trying to keep track of people's sort of mission, and I could see how that could interfere.
It's a question about how you keep the sniper busy. Do you want him to watch the Ember the whole time and be paranoid if a bug maybe occurred? With Purloin, the sniper always knows if the mission is done, so that's a notable difference. Now gets highlight for possible inspect. That statues here.
Inspect and a fingerprint, which is like even more suspicious than it normally would be.
Exactly. Now a bit unfortunate here with the seduction target stepping out of combo when Anorexicwhale wanted to get the first flirt. But still a bit late on time, I would say. Although Anorexicwhale has one fingerprint, that mission at least can be finished quickly, as well as Purloin. So.
And we do just pick up the double agent here, so I'm interested to see where they go from here. They have the option to potentially still try for that seduce, although that window of opportunity is closing with the time ticking down already, or try and get that fingerprint.
The fingerprint is away from the ambassador, so if the Ember doesn't touch anything pretty quickly, I think Anorexicwhale should be thinking about getting a Purloin somehow, because he can't bank on the ambassador.
That's possible, but Purloin is really risky on a map with this few partygoers. That's in some ways the downside of keeping Purloin on there is I feel like Purloin is significantly harder to actually get away with than Bug. Oh, here we go. We're going to pick up a fingerprint this way, though.
Very good move by Anorexicwhale, I think.
We'll see if Quicklime is on top of it. Because inspects and fingerprints is a pretty big tell on a map like this, especially when the double agent has happened.
Yeah, it's true.
It doesn't look like there's going to be a shot.
Yeah, I think Quicklime wasn't on top of the fingerprints here.
Yeah, the spy was highlight most of the game for that statue visit early on, but Quicklime was just too hesitant to shoot.
Yeah, and it was a good spy game. Not everything went perfectly for the spy, although, of course, there was opportunity to fingerprint, especially there at the end with the drink. But a very solid spy game in general. And yeah, not much Quicklime could have shot for besides the possibility of a mission finish.
Yeah, well, I feel like if somebody's done with inspect and fingerprints on a 3 of 5 map, especially if double agent has already been contacted, that's definitely something to shoot for. I think the problem might have been more Quicklime maybe not keeping as much track of the fingerprints as they should have been.
Yeah.
And missing things because of that. But sometimes that happens. Fingerprints are hard to track.
Yeah. All right. Then I think we can go into our next game.
So now we'll see what Quicklime has to do on the spy. Same band missions as before, bug and swap.
Yeah, he gets joined by his seduction target, which should, he should get his first flirt, and he gets it, 35%.
Yeah, that green test was important there because otherwise they would have been out of range for a 3 flirt, but with that green test they're now back on track.
Yeah. A bit chilling in that conversation, and now he steps away. Yeah, to possibly to get a delegate here. So goes pretty well until this point. Quicklime is quite on track. Twitches a little bit, but I think it's unnoticed.
Oh, I think that might have been on purpose here. I think Quicklime is trying to get themselves in the order after the ambassador so they can pick up the fingerprint.
Yeah.
Although unfortunately they're going to have to deal with a smudge fingerprint because the double agent picks up a drink first.
Exactly, yeah. It was a good move. I mean, it could be caught, but
It could be caught.
Yeah, we'll see if he gets the print. No, unfortunately it failed.
Yeah, still certainly an interesting move. They could have tried to demand there also to get the perfect fingerprint, but that would have raised its own suspicion. Sometimes you've got to go for those smudge fingerprints, and if you do get them, you can be in a really good position because those are even harder to track.
But now the time is going down, only 1 minute 20 seconds left.
Red test on the banana bread, and they caught the cough, so...
Yeah, I mean, not much to say about it. It was still an open match. It could have gone either way, but a red test on contact DA, of course, often means death. Yeah, simple as that.
Yeah, that pretty much closed out any other possibilities for how that could have gone.
Right, hopping into the next match on Courtyard 2, ND4-6 with Swap Cut. Starting in 3. Oh, do you want to say something about that?
Oh, just like, I think it's interesting going into this match. It was Quicklime who tried to ban this, and Anorexicwhale who picked the alternate version instead. So interesting to see how that will play out on this map, whether, Quicklime is less comfortable in this sort of thing.
Alrighty. Starting in 3, 2, 1...
Oh, we have some hesitation about whether we want to go for the statues early there. Yeah. And we decide to steer away. Luckily, the sniper was on the other side of the map.
Yeah, he didn't want to deal with a highlight for the whole game. He suspected that Quicklime would highlight for it, which would be likely.
Indeed.
Gets a nice early flirt, 48%, very solid.
And the end of red.
Right on track. And also the contact out of the way. Very good start for Anorexicwhale.
Yeah, that was nice, although Quicklime is missing out on this low light they could have on the white suit, who was definitely at statues when the banana bread went off, but they were on the other side of the map.
Yeah, and unfortunately...
And that could have been very valuable.
Yeah, if you get a low light on a highlight, that's always valuable. So now Ambassador is at statues. I'm sure Anorexicwhale is paying attention to that. For possible fingerprint.
Yeah, hopefully we saw them pick up the fingerprint in the pub game, so they're certainly the sort of player who might be going for that again.
Yeah. And 82% on the flirt, a pretty good spy game until here.
Yeah, they seem to be on pretty good track.
Yeah, it
The
depends.
question, as always, is what their hard tell or fingerprint's going to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering right now. It's probably what will decide the game, which missions Anorexicwhale is planning to do here. Yeah.
Although, interestingly, their hard tell is not going to be swap because, you know, this is 4 of 6 and they had to cut something and they chose swap.
That's true.
Which is interesting to me because Purloin seems to be, in a lot of ways, the more dangerous mission on this map.
Yeah.
Sometimes that it can still be useful to go for it since it's in some ways unexpected, especially on 4 of 7. But cutting swap is tough, but I suppose cutting anything is tough on a 4 of 6 map.
Yeah. Is that drink fingerprintable? I'm not sure. I was wondering because the Amber was holding a drink, but it doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, although the Amber is coming in with their briefcase here. If they drop it, that might be Anorexicwhale's way to get the win.
Oh, it was fingerprintable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They just took a while on it.
Again, a very good spy game from Anorexicwhale. Not easy to shoot for from Quicklime's position, I think.
Yeah, good on Anorexicwhale for chasing after those fingerprints when they know that, you know, Quicklime missed it once before. And Quicklime in the future, you know, if they're looking at these logs, is going to have to think about tracking fingerprint much more closely because clearly it's something that the other player likes to do a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll see if Quicklime can score a win here on the spy side in the next game.
Yeah, and that was actually a really strong spy from Anorexicwhale. Like, I know this is done in Challenger, but I'm pretty sure that would have scored a win off of me. Those are really nice aggressive fingerprints.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, starting the next game in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, Quicklime as a white danger would be pretty important for him to pick up a win here. Hasn't scored a point yet. Starts things off with a 51% flirt. Very nice.
Yeah, that's a relatively standard start, but a pretty good one, especially with a green test.
Steps away, probably to get another flirt. Oh no, he steps into combo with the DA.
You know, speaking of Quicklime not being able to track fingerprint on Sniper, it's also interesting that they've cut the mission as spy. It seems like maybe in general they're not comfortable as they need to be with tracking where the ambassador has gone, where things have touched, no matter what role they're playing. Which is fair. Fingerprint's a hard mission, and especially as spy when you can just cut it. You know, if you're not going to do it, you might as well cut it.
Yeah, exactly. I also think maybe he's not that comfortable with the mission.
Yeah, the downside, of course, is that he has to do a hard tell, and the sniper knows that. So this is a perfectly campable setup, which is difficult, especially on such an easily campable map in general, like Courtyard 2.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what mission he will choose, but I think either Purloin and Swap would be very risky.
Yeah, I mean, we could always go for the Inspect Swap. We've got 2 missions done already, and we're relatively close to statues.
Yeah.
It isn't even too late in the game yet, so if we go right away, we might, you know, not be as suspicious of that sort of play.
And time is getting short, so purloining and inspecting might be a bit too much now.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like the decision to go to these statues now that we have the other person at them, though. That's going to make it potentially hard to get the inspects in the first place.
Yeah. But
Although,
the good
luckily,
thing
they
is,
do put it down.
he is a danger brother, so yeah, if he had decided to swap, maybe he could have covered it. But we'll see. Probably he's going for a... What is he going for? Time it, maybe.
Yeah, interesting that they didn't go for the swap there with so little time left. Oh, we go for the bug instead, but that just gets a shot.
That's... yeah. a little unfortunate. It was a very solid game, but in the end, time was a bit short, and I think he probably felt more comfortable doing a bug than to swap. I just think he thought he would just get shot for swap and felt more comfortable to bug here. But yeah, Anorexicwhale caught it, and it's looking worse and worse for Quicklime now.
Indeed, now Quicklime is down 4-0 and has to win all 4 of these games.
Yeah. All right. Stepping into ballroom, Anorexicwhale up 4-0, starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, Anorexicwhale starts with a drink at bookcase.
Yeah, the AI took us straight here, and it's an interesting opportunity because I don't see people rush like animation microfilm transfer much,
Yeah,
but also it's really not the kind of thing you would look for at the start of the game as a sniper, and you can potentially get that semi-free.
exactly. Yeah, it's been a bit neglected transfer on ballroom, at least the soft transfer. It's certainly a possible mission.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that mission is always, even if you get the first part of it free, you've still got to get the second part done, and that could be significantly more difficult.
Yeah. But it's again a solid start with a good flirt at the beginning. I'm not sure if he wants to timer flirt here or if he has other plans.
Go for the green purloin, that's good for us. And I guess we're not timer flirting now, because we get out of there as soon as we hit the test for the purloin, which is a good strategy.
I think it's a very good move to go to center statues here. If he's not caught for the purloin, he only has to finish flirt and contact, for example. So if he doesn't get shot now at statues, it's hard for the sniper to shoot him later.
Exactly, and being at statues in the first place, if the sniper wasn't tracking exactly who rejected, being at statues could make the sniper think, oh, well, they were busy, so they couldn't have purloined recently.
Yeah.
And in fact, we do get a low light potentially for exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it looks very good for Anorexicwhale again. But we are not sure how suspicious Anorexicwhale thinks he is. So he might think he's the top suspect and decide to not finish missions at all. We don't know.
That's possible, but even so, we don't have too many more difficult missions left to finish. We could win here just by finishing up Seduce and getting ourselves banana bread.
Yeah.
We go for the bug instead, but luckily for us, we're low lit.
Yeah, that's a lucky circumstance. But yeah, you're right. He could have just done soft tails to win here.
And then we go for the swap, which
Very
is
aggressive.
very aggressive, especially since after that bug we could just get a double agent and they're in conversation and everything. But it works out. We're low lit, we're blocking the statue. And that's the win for Anorexicwhale.
I mean, you have to say it was really good play from both players. Really good spy games. But Anorexicwhale just dominated this matchup.
Yeah, which I guess is kind of what I was alluding to in the beginning with, these large skill differences in the Challenger League. Where, apparently this is the sort of thing where Anorexicwhale might be rising to the top of Challenger. I don't know how they've been doing in their other games. But, with people, when it's difficult to quantify the skill of people at the lower ends like that because, some people are more into it, some people are just joining just to join, which is great. We could always use more people, but it's interesting to see how that difference manifests when there's not like more granular placement like with the other leagues.
Yeah, that's true. But I think we can say both players did pretty well. There wasn't any like horrible pathing. There were just a few cut animations maybe here and there, but yeah, very good play in general.
Yeah, that was decent play for both of them, especially on the spy side. I didn't see any like major mistakes from either.